Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Goldilocks Global Banking News. I am your host. Folks, today Goldilocks is sharing some very important information coming from Iraq, where the central bank governor, the central bank of Iraq, the governor is made a speech, a very profound, powerful speech that gives you an idea on the path of the Iraqi dinar to be revalued. Then also more information from Vietnam and what they are doing. Also more information on the global banking system and what is happening there. It is the word I think of is a crescendo of multiple events happening leading to the same destination. Let's jump right into it. Iraq. Let's go to Iraq first. This is directly from the CBI. It was what's called their 5th annual international conference in Iraq, titled The Future of Financial Markets in Iraq in an Era of Contemporary Transformations. That's the name of the title. And this is from the Central Bank of Iraq, directly from the governor. Remember, if you don't know, I have to remind you. If you don't know, I have to inform you, I should say. The Central Bank of Iraq controls the rate of the Iraqi dinar. Although it will ultimately be the markets of supply and demand that will move the rate of the Iraqi dinar, it is the Central Bank of Iraq that will move the needle of the rate. Not blindly, not blanket moving of the rate, but based on a strategic measure dependent on how the markets move the Iraqi dinar. Think of a big ship in the middle of the ocean, and the captain is the central bank. But the markets are what moves the waves and the tide on the water. And it's the central bank and its governor that has to guide the ship. This is the speech that the central bank governor made just a few days ago at this conference about the dinar in the Iraqi banking system. Here are a few quotes directly from the source, the actual source, stating, quote, "The world is undergoing rapid, unprecedented financial and technological changes. Transitional models are obsolete." This is directly from the CBI governor. This is language very, very similar to what Goldilocks has been saying. I'm going to repeat it so you can listen to it. He says the world is undergoing a rapid, unprecedented financial and technological changes. Transitional models, meaning the old school system, obsolete. You think he's referring this to Iraq as well? And how Iraq is doing something to prepare for the changes of the new banking system? Next, he says, quote, Iraq can no longer delay modernizing its financial markets. Adaptation and innovation are now essential. End quote. Those are his words. Not mine, not Goldilocks, not Wiley, not some high-level source said. This is the actual source. Iraq can no longer delay modernizing its financial markets. Adaptation and innovation are now essential. So he's saying, folks, that Iraq must keep up with the rest of the world so they don't be left behind. The dinar must be able to move with the world or it'll be left behind. Next, he says, quote, digital revolution offers huge opportunities for transaction digitization, transparency, banking services, and tech investment. So what he's saying is the revolution, the digital revolution, offers huge opportunities, and Iraq is preparing for it. What's the result? The dinar will be ready. Next, he says, quote, economic strength today depends on resilient, adaptive financial markets and mobilize savings into productive investment. This sounds like a very wise, intelligent financial captain of a ship. Next, he says, quote, developing Iraq's financial markets is a strategic necessity, not an option. This is remember, this is the source. The captain of the ship for the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar is stating, developing Iraq's financial markets is a strategic necessity, not an option. And folks, all of what he's saying here, Iraq has been preparing for. Next, he says, quote, recent achievements sustained low inflation, successful government bond issuance in Iraq, averaging 5 trillion Iraqi dinars per year, covering 50% of the budget financing needs in the past 2 years in cooperation with the Ministry of Finance here in Iraq, Securities Commission, and the Iraqi Stock Exchange. So what he is stating is this. He's telling you the achievements. So think of past tense that affects the present and the future, that Iraq has successfully tackled inflation. Remember, the late Dr. Shabibi in the White Economic Reform Plan said inflation must be controlled in order to stabilize the dinar before the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. Here, the current CBI governor is telling us they've achieved massive achievement, sustaining inflation and successful government bond issuance, meaning that major investors from around the world have bought Iraqi government bonds. I hate to put a pin in someone's bubble, but folks, you cannot purchase Iraqi bonds on the internet. I will continue. Next, he's quoted as stating this about their achievements. The CBI. So think of the captain of the ship saying, our ship, the Central Bank of Iraq ship, will continue supporting modern strategies, transparency, new financial tools, and global digital transformation to achieve sustainable growth and attract investment. End quote. Remember, Goldilocks said the key for Iraq was to attract foreign direct investors into Iraq, which helps to boost the Iraqi dinar in the global markets. Remember, this is what Vietnam has been and are currently doing as well. Remember, we have said to you that Iraq and Vietnam are moving lockstep and key, frick and frack, side by side, in their strategy to revalue their currencies. This is directly from the CBI, the source. Does it get any higher than this as a source? The only higher source than this is God Almighty. And he's not speaking here. It is the CBI governor, the captain of the ship over the Iraqi dinar, stating that the CBI, which governs the dinar, controls the rate of the dinar, will continue supporting modern strategies. So he's saying Iraq will continue to move and elevate its banking system, which the dinar, of course, is a part of. It's transparency, new financial tools. So as the world is transforming, the global banking system is transforming electronically, Iraq is right there every step of the way. And the Oliver Wyman consulting firm, that is the consulting firm for the World Trade Organization, is guiding Iraq every step of the way. Again, this is directly from the CBI. Now we go into Vietnam, where Goldilocks is sharing that Vietnam and their deepening integration into the global banking system with new technology. Sounds familiar with just what Iraq just said. But what's happening is the momentum that Vietnam is now undertaking will bolster the Vietnamese dong. This is what the analysts are saying. The global experts in the finance and banking industry, they are stating. And Goldilocks provides the sources of these global banking analysts who see the trends. They are saying the Vietnamese dong will be bolstered. It continues. The International Labor Organization latest report about jobs in Vietnam. Folks, an economy, a country's economy, which affects their GDP, is connected to their currency. Here we have, quote, jobs and trade and global supply chains in Vietnam highlights Vietnam's new dominance in the Southeast Asian region, with over 19 million jobs created, more than 25% of the region's total, and 35% of the nation's workforce in 2023 alone. Men lie, women lie, gurus lie, numbers don't. The numbers say 19 million jobs created in Vietnam, 25% of the region's total, and 35% of the nation's workforce in 2023 alone. Manufacturing leads at 49% growth, driven by textiles and electronics. This is where the exports on the water through trade. 70% of the roles tied to demand from the U.S., European Union, Japan, and the Asian partners. This surge underscores Vietnam's pivot as a China Plus One hub. Folks, China was one of the major, if not the Asian region's major hub for everything. Finance, export, so forth and so on. Nope, not anymore. Vietnam. Such growth, it states, directly supports the appreciation and the value of the Vietnamese dong through two key channels. First, export revenues have exploded. This is not my language. The analysts are saying this. The export revenues of Vietnam has exploded. Total exports hit over 400 billion in 2024, a 14% increase. In January, from January to October the 20 of this year, 2025, it's been a 17% increase up to 760 billion. These inflows, these increases swell foreign reserves, enabling the Central Bank of Vietnam to manage a crawling peg that allows gradual strengthening of the Vietnamese dong. Second, foreign direct investment pouring in over 15% into Vietnam. This capital demand for the dong, this is more demand for the dong. The numbers are telling you. The increase in revenue is telling you, showing you the increase in the demand for the dong from foreign investors. Folks, the increase in demand for the dong impacts their GDP, which impacts the value of the Vietnamese dong. You see how a switch to be flipped does not compute to reality? I know I just hurt some feelings. I did it out of love. Tough love. Because I want you to pay attention to the numbers. Because they will lead you and I and us to the ultimate goal of what we are looking to achieve. We are just providing you the facts with the data, the numbers to back it up. The links are here for you to read if you so choose. Nonetheless, Vietnam is potentially lifting the dong toward what's called parity with its regional peers and global peers as well. Folks, you're witnessing the rising tide of the dong in Vietnam. It begins in the economy of Vietnam with investors pouring into Vietnam, pouring money into the dong, Vietnam's bonds, Vietnam stocks. All of these assets are connected to their GDP, their gross domestic product, which affects the value of the dong. Companies are beginning to flock away from China into Vietnam. Investors they're not leaving China. They are just seeing that Vietnam is a more attractive, sweet-looking alternative for the prom date that looks a little better than China did. Companies like Samsung flocking to Vietnam, Nike and Adidas setting up shop in Vietnam. Remember, Nike and Adidas, the number one footwear source in the world. Intel, Google setting up manufacturing. Tesla, BMW, Hyundai setting up manufacturing in Vietnam. Apple setting up shop in Vietnam. You don't think this will have an effect on the Vietnamese dong? Vietnam, I'm going to give you a snapshot of Vietnam's growth. They are ranked the number one supply chain country in the Southeast Asia region. But that's for the globe. In the Southeast Asia region, Vietnam is considered the number one source for exports. Foreign direct investment boom, 60%, up 60%. There are key drivers to this growth. All of these major manufacturers that are flocking to Vietnam are fueling the growth. The top sectors are electronics and exports. This is the trade. The trade on the water, on the water, on the water. The Goldilocks has been saying, and it's happening. Vietnam has overtaken Thailand and Indonesia as the primary beneficiary in that region of countries flocking to Vietnam away from China for manufacturing. Then Goldilocks is sharing how the chairman of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, who was a long skeptic of Bitcoin, now says, he is now saying blockchain is real. Quote, this is a quote. Folks, this is connected to the revaluation of currencies. He's saying the blockchain is real. What's going to back our currencies? The digital assets. How are our currencies going to be exchanged? On the blockchain. He is stating that blockchain is now becoming highly efficient. And also on Fox News, he confirmed that JP Morgan is actively developing a stablecoin and advancing tokenization. Where have you heard that before? Goldilocks. Ladies and gentlemen, the world's largest bank, JP Morgan, openly builds stablecoins and moves trillions onto the blockchain. We know it's graduated from an experiment to a core financial infrastructure. This is where our currencies, our paper currencies, will be moved on the blockchain, which is the banking system, the new digital banking system. The pipes are here. The assets are coming. Then we have the Commodities and Future Trade Commission chairman. What's going to back our currencies for the RV and for the new banking system? Commodities. The announcement of the chairman stated this. There's a long overdue cleanup. And it's coming. The new banking system is moving right into place. The chairman of the Commodities Future Trade Commission is stating that as it pertains to foreign currency exchanges in the new banking system, all of the components are in place for the new banking system in foreign currency exchanges, because it is Forex in the trillions of dollars that moves daily throughout the banking system. It is commodities that will back these currencies in the new banking system. Goldilocks is finally stating that countries with strong exports often see their currency values rise over time due to increased demand of those currencies, creating a trade surplus in those countries. This is what strengthens the currency of those countries. We are witnessing it all being developed and put into place now. That's why it's best that you have your relationships established for when the ship finally comes to sea and dock. Be well, folks. We love you. Ciao.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.